All praise, glory, and honor most certainly due to the Most High. Peace to you. And Jesus, this is your brother Elisha, straight out of the house of faith. And I count on you blessing each and every single time that I can come before you, preach the word of God. And that I kind of does the right thing to do so. All right, peace to you, brother Isaiah. My apologies, I'm coming on a little late this evening. But I did want to deal with Brother Sankofa's question. And he asked basically, can you explain the year of Jubilee? And when you really understand, the year of Jubilee deals with the second coming of the Messiah. Now, let's go to Acts real quick. Peace to you, brother Claude. Let's go to Acts, because what I'm about to say, people will probably immediately think about this verse here. Let's see. I'm in Acts, the first chapter, and verse 6. It says, when they therefore were come together, they asked of him, saying, Lord, wilt thou at this time restore again the kingdom to Israel? And he said unto them, it is not for you to know the times or the seasons which the Father hath put in his own power. Okay? So people will say, well, you can't know when he's coming back. Now, you can't say on this day in 2059 or according to the Gregorian calendar, October, you can't say that. But what you can say is he's shown you, see, even through his feast days and even the prophecies that he gave concerning his return, you can narrow it down. Just to show you an example of what I mean by you can narrow it down. And then I'm pointing this out because I'm going to show you what's going to happen in the year of Jubilee. So now let's go to Matthew, the 24th chapter, and just look at the question that the disciples asked. Matthew 24 and verse 3, it says, and as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? So now they asked him about this. Okay, so he told them, take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many, right? He tells you about nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There shall be pestilence, famines, pestilence, and earthquakes in diverse places. All this is the beginning of sorrow. Then he talks about the persecution that's going to come. Then he's talking about the gospel being preached throughout the world. Then he says something. He said, when you therefore shall see the abomination and the desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet standing in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Why is that important? You go down to verse 21. It says, for then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world, of this world for then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no ever shall be. Then he tells you he's coming back. When immediately after the great tribulation, verse 29, immediately after the great tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, the moon shall not give a light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. All right. And then it says, and he shall send his angels with the great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. When is this taking place? So I'm reading it because you can't go to Acts. When we read in Acts, it said, well, you can't know that he coming back. I'm saying he coming back in the year of we call Pentecost on the Day of Atonement. But I can't say it's this specific date. He even tell you when he coming. We know he coming back immediately after the Great Tribulation. The Great Tribulation is 3.5 years, and we're gonna come back here and point out some things. But let's go to read about the year of Jubilee. Leviticus, the 25th chapter. Leviticus, the 25th chapter. So I'm gonna pick it up at verse 8. This is what happens in the year of Jubilee. It says in verse 8, Leviticus 25 and 8, and thou shalt number 7 Sabbaths of years unto thee, 7 times 7 years, and the space of the 7 Sabbaths of years shall be unto thee 49 years. Just like how you count to Pentecost, right? Because Penta means 50. Okay, and that 50th day. Well, he has also that 50th year. Okay, then he says something that takes place in the 50th year. Verse 9. Then shalt thou cause the trumpet of the Jubilee to sound on the 10th day of the 7th month in the day of atonement. Shall you make the trumpet sound throughout all your land? So understand now, the trumpet is being blown on the day of atonement. Okay, so that's the 10th day of the 7th month, and that's in this year of Jubilee. Then it says, and ye shall hallow the 50th year. And now this is made, you sanctify this. Then it says something. It says, and ye shall hallow the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout all the land. So you talking freedom. This is a year, you heard that term Jubilee before, and it being associated with freedom, right? You hear about it, we talk about slaves in this country having a Jubilee. Or you hear about even it being reference to student loan debt. We need a Jubilee. That's when you let all debts go and it's freedom. When the Lord come back, it's gonna be freedom. I'm gonna get into this further, but it says, and ye shall hallow the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants thereof. Peace to you, brother. It shall be a jubilee unto you, and ye shall, listen to this, and ye shall return every man unto his possession, and ye shall return every man unto his family. What's happening at this time? You going home. You going home. It's freedom. It's again, it said, ye shall hallow, sanctify the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout all the land. Proclaim liberty. Why? Because we should understand that what he's doing is pointing to the plan that he has. Okay? Just in another example, just another example of this, if we go to Exodus, the 12th chapter, and we read about the Passover, right? He says, you take this lamb on the 10th day and keep it until the 14th day, and you kill it in the evening, right? That's your Passover. When you go all the way to Matthew, the 26th chapter, what they had to do, they had to come up under the blood of the Passover to be saved. Well, we must come under the blood of Christ to be saved. See, what he put, I'm showing you that, Matthew 26, verse 1, it says, or verse 2, it says, you know that after 2 days is the feast of the Passover, and the Son of Man is betrayed to be crucified. He died on the Passover. I'm showing you that because he didn't put, when we read in Leviticus 25, he didn't just, about year Jubilee, he didn't just put that there for good reading. See, it has significance, and it points to the future, just like his feast days points to the future. Like I gave the example of the Passover. So now I'm going to read this in Leviticus 25, then we're going to go to Isaiah. Leviticus 25 and verse 9. Then shalt thou cause the trumpet of the Jubilee to sound on the 10th day of the 7th month. In the day of atonement shall you make the trumpet sound throughout all your land. And ye shall hallow, again, you're going to trumpet. And then it says, and ye shall hallow the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants thereof. It shall be a jubilee unto you, and ye shall return every man unto his possession, and ye shall return every man unto his family. So sound that trumpet, it's the 50th year, and you're going to proclaim liberty. You're going to proclaim freedom. Now let's go to Isaiah, the 13th chapter, and see what happens with Isaiah, concerning Isaiah's prophecy of the return of the Messiah. Isaiah, the 13th chapter. He says, now we know this is the return of the Messiah because of this sign here. The sign of the Son of Man. It says in verse, this is Isaiah 13 and verse 9. Behold, the day of the Lord cometh, cruel, both with wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate, and he shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it. Now we know this is the sign of his return. It says, for the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened. And it says, in his goings forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine. Hold your finger right here and go to Matthew, the 24th chapter. Again, let's just read that one more time. Matthew, the 24th chapter. Just so we know what's happening. So we know we're talking about the same time. It says, what's going to happen after the Great Tribulation? It says, immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give a light, and the stars shall fall from heaven. We just read the same thing in Isaiah 13. We also going to read something else. He says, I will punish the world for their evil and the wicked for their iniquity. That's why you read in Matthew 24 and verse 30, he talks about all the tribes of the earth mourning at this time. They're going to be mourning because he's coming back in wrath. He's coming back in flaming fire, taking vengeance on them that know not God and not obey not his gospel. So he says, and I will punish the world for their evil and the wicked for their iniquity, and I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease and will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man than the golden wedge of Ophir. Then he says, therefore I will shake the heavens, and the earth shall remove out of her place in the wrath of the Lord of hosts and in the day of his fierce anger. And then listen to this. And it shall be as the chased roe, and as a sheep that no man taketh up. They shall every man turn to his own people, and flee every one into his own land. Wait a minute. Hold your finger here. Let's go back to Leviticus, the 25th chapter, and see what was said. Remember, we read about the second coming of the Messiah. But what do we read about that year of Jubilee, that year of freedom? It says in Leviticus 25 and verse 10, and ye shall hallow or sanctify the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants thereof. It shall be a jubilee unto you, and ye shall return every man unto his possession. And ye shall return every man unto his family. Peace to you, brother. It's good to see you there. So now, everybody's going home. That's why we read. That's happening in the Day of Atonement. In the year of Pentecost, or the year of Jubilee. So it says, same thing. When he returned back, go back to Isaiah 13 and read it again. And it shall be as a chased roe, and as a sheep that no man taketh up. They shall every man turn to his own people, and flee every one to his own land. So you going home. Now, let's go to Matthew the 24th chapter and read something here. It says, and he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Who are his elect? His elect are the children of Israel. They are scattered into what? Into captivity. Have been scattered by way of slavery. They going home. It's the year of freedom. So everybody's going home. That's what he's saying. First he said, I'm gonna punish the world for their evil. So now, but he also said that, and listen to this. See, this is not, again, that wasn't just good reading in Leviticus 25th chapter. Or wasn't just, they did it back there. No, it's pointing to what's to come. Matthew 24 again and verse 31. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet. Hold your finger here and go back to Leviticus the 25th chapter. And what's happening on the day of Pentecost? Verse 9, then shalt thou cause the trumpet of the Jubilee to sound. On the 10th day of the 7th month and the day of atonement shall ye make the trumpet sound throughout all your land. See, the trumpet is sounding. Why? Because that's the gathering of his people as well. His people, it's going to be freedom. It's going to be freedom at that time. It's going to be free. It's going to even be free. Let's go to back to Matthew 24 and 31. Saying, and he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. See, he's gathering his people at that time. Now, the brother Isaiah said, I pray I'm alive. Let's go to 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter. Because I'm going to tell you, brother, what you want to be is in the resurrection. That's ultimately what you want to be. You want to be gathered into the God family, to be what he is. 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter and the 51st verse. And all you want to do is stay the course. That's why it even tells you, we didn't read it, but in Matthew the 24th chapter, he said, he that endure to the end. You have to have endurance. He says in Matthew 24 and verse 13, but he that shall endure to the end, the same shall be saved. You have to endure. You have to endure. So I'm going to pick it up at 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter and the 51st verse. It said, behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last, what? It said at the last trump. For the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. So now you got a trump again, that same trump. You got the gathering of the people, they all going home at the sound of a trumpet. So that's talking about flesh and blood, but you also had a first resurrection. I understand Jubilee is about freedom. The ultimate thing we need to be free from, brothers and sisters, is death. This is the human condition. The ultimate thing that has been defeating us and that has enslaved, we are slaves to death. The good die, the bad die, the righteous die, the unrighteous die, the rich die, the poor die. No matter what you look like, it don't matter who you think you are, it don't matter how big you get amongst human beings. I saw somebody on a little clip. They were on a show. They were a famous athlete. And they love this person so much that a grown man tattooed this man's face and an image on his back. So that guy that he did that got very popular. The popular gonna die, the unpopular gonna die. So we are slaves unto death, brothers and sisters. But when he comes back, he's freeing us from that. See, this is total freedom. It says, for this, he said in verse 53, 1 Corinthians 53, for this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality. So when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be thought to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory. O death, where's thy sting? O grave, where is thy victory? See, that's what we want to be free from. That's ultimately what we want to be freed from. So that's just a little bit on what's going down in the year of Pentecost, on the Day of Atonement. And what you have, brothers and sisters, again, that's when he's coming back. And he is coming back to do what? He's coming back and everybody's going to go home. Just like Israel's going to go and they're going to start their transition of going home. He's going to gather his people. And ultimately, even he's going to gather his into the God family as well. And we're going to be free from death. We're going to be free from death. And with that, brothers and sisters, I want to remind you that we at the Household of Faith meet every Sabbath at 5925 West 25th Avenue in Gary, Indiana, at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. We live stream right here on the Israel Teach YouTube channel, as well as at www.israelteach.org. If you've been edified and blessed through the ministry and been edified through the ministry, you can leave a donation at our website. 100% of the proceeds go to the work of the ministry, not in our pockets. Again, we live stream at israelteach.org, as well as at on the Israel Teach YouTube channel. With that, brothers and sisters, it's always my prayer that you will edify.